Hello everyone, welcome to another video of Knowledge of Life. Today in this video we will discuss about the overview of the metabolic reactions taking place in our body due to the dietary intake. Now, the metabolic reactions mainly involve the catabolic and the anabolic reactions, whereas in the catabolic reactions the reactions govern the breakdown of food materials to obtain energy, and the anabolic reactions uses the energy produced by the catabolic reactions to synthesize larger molecules from the smaller ones. Now, the major amount of energy that is produced is in the form of heat energy, and another is in the form of high energy compound, that is ATP. About 40% of the compound that is produced, or the energy compound that is produced, is in the form of high energy molecule, that is the ATP or the adenosine triphosphate. The ATP molecule is made up of a adenine group, a ribose sugar, and 3 phosphate groups. Now, the ATP molecules serve different kinds of functions, and it is also known as the energy currency of the cell, which performs different kind of functions such as the contraction of muscles, to maintain the electric potential of nerve cells, to maintain the membrane transport across the channels, and also to synthesize different kind of chemical components. Now, the ATP molecule donates one phosphate group or gets dephosphorylated, and it gets converted to adenosine diphosphate, where it releases energy, and the adenosine diphosphate or the ADP is again converted to ATP by means of addition of a phosphate group to the ADP compound, and in this process it involves energy. Now, among the macronutrients which serves the catabolic and the anabolic reactions or the metabolic reactions of the whole body to supply energy, the carbohydrate, fats, and the proteins are the major macronutrients which gives us energy throughout the whole day. Now, at first let's look at the macronutrients, that is carbohydrate. The carbohydrates are made up of sugar molecules, which is a 6-carbon compound which consists of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in the ratio of 1:2:1. Now, the sugar molecule can exist in two forms, that is the long chain structure and the ring structure, and the carbohydrate can be divided into two types, that is the simple form and the complex form. Now, the simple form of carbohydrate can be of two types, that is the monosaccharide and the disaccharide. The monosaccharide consists of a single sugar molecule, and the disaccharide consists of two sugar molecules which are attached with each other by means of alpha linkages. Now, the monosaccharide can be of different types, that is glucose, fructose, and galactose, and the disaccharide can be also of different types, that is maltose, sucrose, and lactose. Now, the complex sugar are made up of a large number of sugar molecules which can be also of different types, that is starch, glycogen, and fiber or cellulose. Now, if we look at the breakdown of the carbohydrates, at first the carbohydrates are broken down into simple sugar molecules, or generally we can say glucose molecules, and they undergoes through different process of breakdown or metabolism. Now, the glucose molecule is first broken down into two molecules of pyruvate, and later on it undergoes through different stages of breakdown. Now, the 6-carbon compound, that is glucose, is breakdown into a 3-carbon compound which is pyruvate. So, from a single glucose molecule, two pyruvate molecules are produced. Now, in the presence of oxygen, there is a different kind of mechanism taking place, and in absence of oxygen there is another different kind of mechanism taking place. In the presence of oxygen, aerobic respiration takes place, and in absence of oxygen, anaerobic respiration takes place. When there is absence of oxygen, the two molecules of pyruvate is converted to lactate, and the lactate produce NADH, which is further used in glycolysis. Now, in case of presence of oxygen, there is a different cycle taking place, that is, the oxygen, due to the presence of oxygen, the pyruvate gets converted to acetyl CoA, which further takes part in TCA cycle or the citric acid cycle, or we can also say the Krebs cycle, and from that NADH is produced, which is further taken part in the electron transport chain or the oxidative phosphorylation, where a large number of ATP molecules are produced. If we look at the number of ATP molecules produced in these phases of glycolysis, we will look that during the conversion of glucose to pyruvate, a net yield of 2 ATP takes place. Now, during the conversion of pyruvate to acetyl CoA, there is no production of ATP, but there is production of NADH. And during the Krebs cycle, there is a total yield of 2 ATPs and 6 NADH and 2 FADH. Now, during the electron transport chain, there is a total yield of 34 ATP, and in a net there is a production of 36 ATP molecules from per glucose molecule. So one glucose molecules can yield up to 36 ATP during the oxidative phase or the aerobic respiration. Now, if we look at protein, it is the most important or the essential component of our body, and it is the building block of our body, as most of our body is made up of protein structures, such as the structural proteins, which are the collagen, keratin and elastin. There are also contractile proteins such as the actin and myosin. There are also other kind of compounds such as the hormones, antibodies, cell receptors, ion channels, and the most important ones, the enzymes, which all of are made up of protein structures. Now, the protein is made up of amino acid residues, where an amino acid consists of an amine group, a carboxyl group and a side chain, and two amino acids are attached with each other by means of peptide bond, and by means of these they form a long chain structure where they undergoes through three-dimensional conformation and they form protein structure. While taking a protein-rich diet, at first the proteins are converted into fragments of amino acid by means of the acid and the enzymes present in the stomach and the small intestine, and later on they are converted to the plasma protein or the tissue specific protein. Now, the amino acid undergoes through different kind of cycles, such as the urea cycle, where transamination takes place and it produces different kinds of important products which are necessary for the Krebs cycle. Now, the amino acid serves different functions by conversion of amino acids to different products of the glycolysis also, such as the glucogenic amino acid gets converted to pyruvate and the ketogenic amino acids get converted to acetyl CoA, whereas the aspartic acid and the asparagine gets converted to oxaloacetate in the TCA cycle, or the phenylalanine and the tyrosine gets converted to fumarate, or the arginine histidine gets converted to alpha ketoglutarate. So the amino acids serves an important role in the glycolysis also. So the protein metabolism and the carbohydrate metabolism are interlinked with each other. Now let's talk about lipids. Now the lipids can be of different types, such as the fatty acid or the glycerides. Now while we were talking about lipid metabolism, we are mainly talking about the triglyceride metabolism. Now the triglyceride is made up of ester and 3 fatty acid chains. Now while we take the dietary fat or the triglycerides, it undergoes through the small intestine, where they are broken down into micelles by the bile salts present, and they are further broken down into monoglyceride, free fatty acid and glycerol by means of the pancreatic lipase, and they undergoes through the enterocytes. While transported getting transported through the enterocytes, they are further converted to the triglyceride form, and they are transported by means of chylomicrons, and they are released in the bloodstream. Getting transported through the bloodstream, the free fatty acid and the glycerol get stored in the muscle and the adipose tissue, and the other triglycerides are transported through the chylomicron to the liver, where it undergoes through the endogenous pathway, where the triglycerides are deposited in the peripheral tissues, and the cycle goes on where it again gets transported by means of chylomicron through the bloodstream and other functions. Now, the lipid metabolism is also linked with the carbohydrate metabolism and the protein metabolism, as the triglyceride takes part in different cycles, such as the triglyceride gets converted to fatty acid, where by means of beta oxidation it gets converted to acetyl CoA, and it takes part in the Krebs cycle. And the triglyceride gets also converted to glycerol, which takes part in the glycolysis pathway. So each of the pathway are interlinked with each other by means of the mechanisms or the catabolic reactions, and the main motive of each of the macronutrients is the production of energy or the production of ATP. So while taking food, it undergoes through different kind of catabolic reactions, such as the protein catabolism or the carbohydrate catabolism or the triglyceride catabolism, where some of them are stored in the form of protein and carbohydrate in the liver, muscle and adipose tissues, and they are interlinked with each other, and the final motif of them is the production of ATP or the production of energy. So that's it for today's video. In the next video we will discuss about the detailed pathway of the metabolic pathways, such as the glycolysis, the Krebs cycle or the TCA cycle, and so on. So hope the video will help you, and if you have any kind of query regarding the video, you can put a question in the comment box, and if you like the video, please share the video and subscribe our channel. Thank you.